God is not a man that he should lie. As soon as he speaks something, it's in the process of being established. And we're going to see that today when we look at 2 Kings chapters 9 through 11. But first, welcome to Experiencing God, 365 days through the Bible, day 185. So I'm going to sum up what happened in these 3 chapters kind of quickly, and then we're going to look at the prophecies that have been fulfilled in these 3 chapters, because there's a lot. It's wild. Anyway, in chapter 9, Elisha goes and he anoints Jehu to be the king of Israel. This shows how powerful the prophets were back then. There's no voting process. The Lord speaks to Elisha, says, go anoint Jehu. Elisha goes and does it. Now, here's the interesting thing. There's still a king when he does this. Elisha tells him, hey, I'm going to anoint you. You're to be the king. When you are, you're to wipe out all of Ahab's descendants. That's what the Lord said to do. Wipe out all of King Ahab's descendants, including King Joram, who was reigning at the time that Elisha anointed Jehu. That's pretty wild. Anyway, so Jehu goes and finds Joram. He goes and finds the king of Israel. When he does, he also finds King Ahaziah, who's the king of Judah. Okay, Jehu shoots Joram with an arrow. It pierces his heart. He dies. Then he shoots Ahaziah with an arrow, and he's killed. After that, he goes to find Jezabel. Jezebel's waiting. She has put makeup on. That's how she, in her Jezebel spirit, right? She thinks she's beautiful. She has some servants standing around her. Jehu's like, who's with me? Throw her down. She's thrown out of the window. The dogs eat her body. Prophecy fulfilled. Now in chapter 10, Jehu kills Ahab's family. There were 0 survivors. Okay, Jehu kills the priest of Baal. He called all the worshipers of Baal together. He's like, come into the temple, make sure there's no Christians here, make sure there's no worshipers. Well, it can't be Christians because Christ hasn't come yet, but make sure there's no one who worships the Lord here. Okay. And so this is what he said in chapter 10, verse 23. Jehu said to the worshipers of Baal, make sure no one who worships the Lord is here, only those who worship Baal. So he had 80 people standing outside this. He said, don't let any of them get out of here. The Lord said, take care of this, tear down this temple, get rid of this idolatry. So everyone who's in that temple is killed. Okay. There's a sacred pillar. It was burned down. The temple is wrecked. It's turned into a public toilet. Now in chapter 10, verses 28 through 31, it says, in this way, Jehu destroyed every trace of Baal worship from Israel. He did not, however, destroy the golden calves at Bethel and Dan, which were Jeroboam, son of Nebat, with which Jeroboam, son of Nebat, had caused Israel to sin. Nonetheless, the Lord said to Jehu, you have done well in following my instructions to destroy the family of Ahab. Therefore, your descendants will be kings of Israel down to the 4th generation. But you followed my instructions, but you just did the instructions. You didn't change your heart. But Jehu did not obey the law of the Lord, the God of Israel, with his whole heart. He refused to turn from sin that Jeroboam had led Israel to commit. So he listened to the Lord. He did the things God told him to do, but he didn't have a heart change. He did not turn away from sin. Now, eventually Jehu dies. He's buried in Samaria. Chapter 11 goes back to Queen Athaliah. Remember, she was married to Jehoshaphat. Her son Ahaziah became king. When he died, she became queen. Okay, and if you remember, there was this conspiracy against Athaliah to make Joash was her grandson. There's this conspiracy against her to take her out and put him in. If you remember, Joash was raised in the temple for 6 years. At year 7 of his life, he was anointed king. She was killed. She was taken down. And then there was this religious reform in the southern kingdom, which was so good. The altars of Baal were destroyed. They were smashed. The idols were smashed. Now let's look at some of the prophecies that were fulfilled today in these 3 short chapters. So there's a destruction of Ahab's house, okay, that happened in 2 Kings 9, verse 14 through 17. And that was prophesied in 1 Kings 21. So Ahab's house was destroyed. The dogs ate Jezebel in Jezreel, okay? That was prophesied in 1 Kings 21. Today we see that Jezebel is eaten by the dogs in Jezreel in 2 Kings chapter 9. Naboth's blood was avenged. That was prophesied in 1 Kings 21. Today Joram's body is thrown into Naboth's field. okay? We see that. Remember, that was his field that he would not sell, so he was killed because he would not sell his field, right? They were fighting over this field. We see that today in 2 Kings 9 when Joram's body is thrown into the field. Now, there's judgment on Ahab's allies. That was implied in 2 Kings chapter 9, and it happened in 2 Kings 9, okay? There was this purging of the worship in Baal, the purging of the Baal worship, okay? That was implied in 2 Kings 9. That was implied in 1 Kings chapter 19. It was taken care of today in 2 Kings 10. And then there's an end of Ahab's influence in Judah. That was prophesied in 1 Kings 21. Athaliah is killed. Joash restores the Davidic line. That happens in 2 Kings 11. One more thing, prophecy-wise, the Davidic dynasty is preserved. That is prophesied in 2 Samuel chapter 7, verse 16. And today, Joash, we see that his survival and his coronation, the Davidic line, is preserved in 2 Kings 11. What stood out to you today? To me, it's that God is not a man that he should lie, right? If he speaks something, it will come to pass. There was so much prophecy fulfilled today. It came from the prophets of the Lord, from God. They spoke it via the Holy Spirit, right? And it was fulfilled. It's a lot, right? It's a lot to look at. But it's wild to see when these prophetic words given years in advance are fulfilled. And I love to see that. Like, comment, share, subscribe. God sees you. He loves you. He has a great plan for your life. I pray the Holy Spirit ministered to you today through this. Tomorrow, we're going to continue on to 2 Kings chapters 12 through 13, and then 2 Chronicles 24. See you there.